Secretary General, can you tell us how well the countries of OPEC and OPEC Plus even are adhering to the agreement struck to cut supply?
Thank you very much, Vonnie, for having me, and good afternoon from rainy Vienna. Our historic agreement came into effect on the 1st of May, just a couple of days ago. And I can tell you that we are all ramping up, all participating countries are rapidly ramping up their level of compliance. So far, so good.
Mr. Barkindo, Anne-Marie Hordern here. Nice to see you from Vienna. The next big question is, of course, going to be what happens in June. Now, the deal calls for July, the 9.7 becomes 8 million barrels a day. Do you think that they'll hold on to this 9.7 million barrel a day cut, or will we see the group start to taper those cuts for the rest of the year?
Well, as you know very well, our agreement is for 2 years, and we had agreed for 9.7 for the month of May and June, and then it will taper off to 7.7 to the rest of the year, and then 5.8 million from 1st of January next year to April 2022. So far, we are now focused on the full and timely implementation of the 9.7 that was signed off by participating countries. But also, importantly, to take note, is that some of our countries, like the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates, have come forward with additional voluntary supply adjustments in the region of about 1.2 million barrels a day. And this is also on top of the baseline, the effective baseline that they were coming down from, would mean in April, which in total, just these three countries, they had effectively reduced production by about 2.74 million barrels a day. So bringing in sum total at the moment, a cumulative 13.64 million barrels a day for the OPEC Plus. Now, if you take into account the involuntary shut-ins as well as the voluntary shut-ins globally that we are closely monitoring, the numbers are evolving. At the moment, our numbers show that there is an effective shut-in of about 3.6 million barrels a day globally, including in the United States, bringing the global total to about 17.24 million barrels a day. So far, so good. We are closely monitoring these developments, and the conference in June will look at all this data and all the scenarios and options depending on the demand outlook going out the second half of the year and the recovery plans of the global community as we navigate ourselves out of this horrific pandemic.
So, Mr. Barkindo, as you look around the world at the shut-ins and at the demand picture, is it your contention that perhaps the worst of the demand destruction has now passed, or are we still going to see more demand destruction?
There is no question at the moment, although here at OPEC we remain cautiously optimistic that the worst is behind us. What we saw in April was extraordinary, and you saw how our member countries, together with our allies in the Declaration of Cooperation, rose to the challenge under the able leadership of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Russian Federation and all other countries to confront this double whammy of a demand shock of unprecedented proportions, as well as a supply shock in the midst of a pandemic when more than half of the global population is in one form of lockdown or another, bringing the entire global economy literally to a standstill.